everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com and it's Friday. Gotta get to, that's the wrong series, that'll be later on today, Wrestlers of the Week, because for now, we've got some lovely wrestling news for you, you lucky little individuals. First of all, according to multiple sources, 2 matches have been pulled from WrestleMania 36. Next up, we take a look at the plans for Raw, SmackDown and NXT during the outbreak. And finally, there's been a bit of a war of words on Twitter between a WWE star and an AEW star. Now, first of all, let's go to Pro Wrestling Sheet, where, as I mentioned, they are reporting that according to multiple sources, 2 matches have been pulled from WrestleMania 36. But which matches are those? Well, when you think about it, it kind of makes a bit of sense. So those matches are reportedly the men's and women's battle royals, those that traditionally take place on the pre-show, although sometimes they've crept onto the main card here and there, but usually it's kind of pre-show fodder. And it's a massive shame, in my opinion. Yes, they're never the best matches on the card or anything, but they're a nice little palate cleanser at the start of the show. I think that I do enjoy both of those battle royals, even though, you know, they come with a lot of issues such as certain favourites being eliminated really quickly, or people being misused, or just not a lot of general substance to the carnage going on in the ring. But I still quite enjoy it, and I will be sad to see them left off the show. But then again, it does make a lot of sense given the current circumstances, doesn't it? And it's another example of WWE really wanting to abide by the health and safety regulations going on at the moment, not just in the USA, but worldwide as well. And yeah, I mean, I can't argue with it, but it is a shame for multiple reasons as well, because those battle royals are often a way of guaranteeing a payday for loads more people on the roster than would initially have been on the WrestleMania card. But if indeed these sources are correct, then it means that maybe a lot of people will be missing out. And while, yes, I can sort of see that that is a massive shame for a lot of people, and if it were up to me, I'd love to see them all on the show, of course. That's why the battle royals are there, pretty much. It does make a lot of sense. I mean, cutting down on these battle royals is going to mean there's a lot less people running about backstage, there's a lot less people in close contact with one another. And yeah, it's just one of those tough decisions, but you can't really argue with it on the whole. And it's a shame, especially for my colleague Adam Pacitti, because his boy, his playboy, Mojo Rawley, is not going to get a chance this year to become a 2-time Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal winner. I'm so sorry, Adam. I hope you're all right at this troubling time. Now let's go over to Post Wrestling, who according to their sources seem to think they've got quite a good handle on WWE's upcoming plans for Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and maybe even WrestleMania as well. I'll explain what I mean. So let's start with Raw and SmackDown because they are the easiest to, I guess, get our heads around. And basically, it seems as though WWE, according to these sources, are planning to tape Raw and SmackDown heading forwards into WrestleMania, which I guess makes sense when you think about it, with the way that things are these days, things changing day to day, nobody really knowing what's going to be allowed in a few days and what's not with regards to gathering in large buildings and that sort of thing. So I can understand why they'd maybe want to get all these shows out of the way first, just to get those in the can. Yes, we've taped them, and let's move forwards from there. This week's SmackDown is set to be a pretty big one though, as it features Rob Gronkowski, of course, so he's going to be the host for WrestleMania. I'm legitimately interested to see how he does. There's also set to be a contract signing between Roman Reigns and Goldberg for that match over the Universal Championship. But yeah, seems like from next week, from the March 23rd edition of SmackDown, that's when shows are going to start being taped. And I think this could be a good move. This could mean that we're starting to see shows that maybe have more matches in them. Of course, WWE have had to rely a little bit, or quite a lot actually, on showing older matches, like the entire men's Royal Rumble this year on Raw, for example. And I can't judge that too harshly given the circumstances. You know, it's exactly the sort of thing that you've got to do to fill a 3-hour time slot. But I feel like there's more of a balance that could be achieved, because obviously Raw only had one new matchup. And if we use AEW as a point of contrast, they had various new matches on their show this week. Actually, I've just noticed that I made a mistake there, but it was in the middle of quite a long take, so I don't want to go back and correct myself. I meant the March 23rd Raw is when tapings will potentially begin from. It's alright, it's going to be okay. But in other surprising news, it seems like Post Wrestling are also saying that one of their sources, just one, reckons that WrestleMania could be pre-taped as well, so the action wouldn't actually be live come Saturday the 4th and Sunday the 5th of April. But only one source seemed to suggest that. The other one they apparently asked wasn't certain, so they've reached out to WWE themselves, but there is yet to be an update. And then just a quick update on NXT from the Wrestling Observer, who are reporting that WWE are hoping to run NXT from the Performance Center next week, because this week obviously they were forced to do more of a high package show and one filled with promos and interviews and stuff, but no actual wrestling. They're hoping to go back to normal from the Performance Center next week, but obviously they're not certain because things change on a day-to-day basis. That's according at least to the Wrestling Observer. Now let's stop with the WWE news for a second and talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling potentially running a huge annual show in the United States, one as big as their annual Wrestle Kingdom Spectacular, their equivalent of WrestleMania. That would mean that New Japan would have basically two huge mammoth shows a year instead of just the one. But I guess, could they do that? Would having one show dilute the other? Anyway, let's take a look at what Harold May said in an interview with Sports Illustrated. So May says, "We are still absolutely planning to hold our first ever Wrestle Dynasty event at Madison Square Garden in August to showcase the very best wrestling New Japan Pro Wrestling can offer to our fans in the USA. The slogan of the event, 'We Build a Kingdom, Join Our Dynasty,' which sounds like a combination of Cody Rhodes' theme tune and our own slogan here at Cultaholic, celebrates the community spirit that has built New Japan into what it is, and that is a fervor and passion that we feel will make Wrestle Dynasty a tremendous success after we overcome the current crisis." May goes on to say, "MSG is the holy grail of wrestling venues, and our first event there in April 2019 was a big success. That was over WrestleMania weekend last year when Kazuchika Okada beat Jay White for the title. Our biggest event of the year, which brings the... Oh, and Enzo Amore showed up, didn't he? And big cast. That was funny as well. Tama Tonga was not a happy boy. Anyway, our biggest event of the year, which brings the best we have to offer and culminates that year, is our annual January 4th Wrestle Kingdom event in Japan. We wanted to create and deliver a similar experience for our US fans, and therefore have established the Wrestle Dynasty brand, whereby we promise to give our US fans the very best we have to offer as a similar one-time annual big event each year." That's what annual means, Harold. Come on now. Now, I think that this is a pretty good idea, to be fair. I can see why long-time New Japan fans would be annoyed, because it's like if WWE introduced a second WrestleMania and started running it somewhere like Saudi Arabia, for example. They've kind of done a similar sort of thing, but at the same time, obviously the USA is a much bigger wrestling market than Saudi Arabia is. And also, I think that it makes a lot of sense for New Japan to do this, because a lot of their existing fans are Western, and I think that in terms of international expansion, you do have to sort of court that market a little bit more. So yes, you've got your loyal fan base in Japan, but a lot of fans of New Japan these days are actually from outside of the country. So I think this Wrestle Dynasty idea is a pretty good one, but only if, and this is a big if they can weave it into current storylines, if they don't just have it as a big block in the middle of the calendar year and they have to bend their storylines to the will of Wrestle Dynasty. If they can do it the other way and manage to naturally build towards it and work with it, then I think it's a really good idea. And in terms of the scale of the event, or Harold May talking about the scale of the event, I'm not so certain that it is on a similar level to Wrestle Kingdom itself, just because it's planned to be held in MSG, whereas Wrestle Kingdom's held in a big baseball stadium in the Tokyo Dome. So I understand that it's probably a smaller scale event, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. You know, it's not as if one event's going to take away from the sheen of the other if they're both kind of different sizes. Sticking with Japanese wrestling news though, and this is from the Wrestling Observer, Dave Meltzer reports, in Japan, there is more concern about WWE coming in with an NXT outpost than ever before. He says the feeling is that every company is weakened economically because of the current ongoing crisis, and WWE with its guaranteed TV money isn't hurt nearly as bad. This is an unforeseen situation, but from a timing standpoint, if the move was made later this year, WWE has a better chance of getting a higher level of Japanese talent. So that's basically Dave Meltzer saying, because of the current situation globally and the economic crisis that's probably going to follow it and is kind of ongoing, that means that basically WWE have a greater chance of succeeding with an NXT Japan kind of setup later on this year. Very cynical view to take there from Dave Meltzer, but is it something we put past WWE and their ruthless cutthroat business approach? Not going to answer that on the internet. Now personally, I don't know if I'd be excited for NXT Japan, just because the Japanese wrestling scene is so strong as it is in its current state, and also because I'm from the UK and I have seen what NXT UK has done with regards to the UK wrestling scene and various different consequences it's had. And I'm not saying that those are a universally bad thing, I'm just saying that personally, I'm not a fan of it. I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers here, That's for you, British Strong Style. And another sort of strange cutthroat WWE business-like wrestling news from Dave Meltzer in The Observer. He claims that WWE are trying to trademark all existing WCW and ECW old pay-per-view names, or at least I guess the ones that haven't already been trademarked. I know that Cody was trying to trademark quite a lot of those, and apparently it is simply to ensure that no other companies can use them, the reason that you trademark something. But specifically, I guess because AEW are paying such homage sometimes to WCW history in particular, and WWE probably don't really like that. Now over to AEW, where, well, first of all, a little bit of a charming prelude to this news story. Bray Wyatt, he misses Luke Harper. Ah, that's right, Wyatt recently tweeted, "It's just me and Rowan now," followed by a crying gif. So he clearly misses Luke Harper, or Brody Lee, as he's now known in All Elite Wrestling, the Exalted One. At the same time, though, poor Braun Strowman. Just left him out of the conversation, haven't you, Bray? It's just me and Rowan now. What about Big Brawny? I guess because Braun's a babyface and he left the Wyatt family, I guess they're not really friends anymore, but I feel a bit harsh for Braun there. But now let's head to PW Insider, who have some AEW news, basically saying that the plan was always for Brody Lee to be the Exalted One. Now you might be thinking, hang on, why did they hint so much then that it was going to be Matt Hardy? It seemed like they may have even pulled like a bit of a switcheroo because everyone was guessing that it was going to be Matt Hardy, so they thought, right, we'll make him a babyface, we'll have Brody Lee as the Exalted One. Well, apparently that was the plan for AEW all along, and they just leaned into the Matt Hardy stuff because everyone was speculating that it would be. This was meant to, I guess, fuel speculation that it was going to be Matt Hardy, and then when it was revealed to be Brody Lee, there'd still be that nice element of surprise, because if everyone had already worked that out, then it wouldn't have been as, I guess it would have been a little bit more underwhelming. Still, I thought they handled both debuts really, really well on this week's Dynamite, despite having no fans in attendance. And also, I think that even if people had realised that it was Brody Lee, it may not have even affected it that much, to be honest. I mean, some people were speculating that it would be Brody Lee. Some people guessed it correctly and thought Matt Hardy won't be involved with the Dark Order. And I still think it would have worked fine. But yeah, I understand why AEW would do such a thing. Trying to misdirect the fans is always good, as long as you've got the fans' best interest at heart. Don't be working us bloody marks for no reason, okay? Don't fall into those tricks. We've been through enough of that over the past few years. And finally, a bit of a war of words on Twitter between a WWE star and an AEW star. It's kicking off, and excitingly as well, they're both bloody big lads, so I'd love to see them have a real fight. So first of all, a tweet went out of the video that you may have seen on Dynamite this week of Lance Archer just beating up everybody in AEW, not in AEW, sorry, outside in a wooded clearing, hyping his debut in AEW, of course. A video went out like that on Twitter, and then someone replied, a fan, saying, "You look like a true beast," or something like that. "This is what at Braun Strowman should have been." That's mean, first of all, before I get into this war of words, that's mean. I mean, yeah, feel free to give your opinion, of course, everybody's got one, but don't be tagging the wrestler in as if to be all, like, condescending towards them. But then Braun came in and got involved, and Braun, my friend, two wrongs do not make a right, and he said, "Great value brand version of me," implying that he is the real deal and that Lance Archer is just a knockoff Braun Strowman, which is weird because Lance Archer has actually been around for far longer than Braun Strowman. I mean, he was in TNA in its early days and everything, and probably even before. Yeah. Was he in WCW even? I'm not certain, but someone will know. Let me know in the comments down below, please. But then three wrongs don't make a right, Lance Archer, who then replied, "Great value, you say? Great, yup. Valuable, yup. Experienced, yup. Agile, yup." This is reading like a Stone Cold Steve Austin, like a what promo? "Interesting, yup. Personality, yup. So yeah, you can say I'm of damn good value. So thanks, kid." And then Strowman replied saying something like, "No problem, old man." And then Archer replied saying something like, "It's well seasoned, get it right." And then a gif of like, "Let's do this, let's get ready to rumble." It's been a bit of a frustrated exchange for neutrals who just want to see AEW and WWE do well. But at the same time, I would like to see those guys have a fight, a real one, or a wrestling match. You know what? Let them have a wrestling match as well. Whatever. Preferably a real fight. So that's it for the news, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. Now, just before I go, I thought it'd be a nice little thing for anybody self-isolating for us to start a little, almost like a book club, but for wrestling matches. So at the end of every news video, I'll recommend one wrestling match for us all to go and watch. And then in the next news video, in the comments and stuff, we can all talk about how we thought the match was. And it'll be really nice, won't it? I'll try and keep it varied. I'll try and recommend some free ones on YouTube, but sometimes you may need the network. So the first one is Steve Blackman versus Shane McMahon at SummerSlam. Enjoy that, that's your first assignment, and thanks very much for watching. I'll catch you in a bit.